Hey, this is Kevin with Godlike Incorporated, and I'm here at Santos Party House in New York City with Shane Clark from Canadian Metal Maniacs 3 Inches of Blood. Shane's been a longtime Maxon user, sporting the Maxon OD808 in his pedal board, but recently Sammy Douay from Goat Whore turned him on to the Maxon ST9 Pro Plus, so Shane's been rocking that and also the Maxon AD999 Pro. But enough of me telling you about it. I'm going to let Shane walk you through his rig and tell you how he's using these pedals to get his tones. Shane?
All right. Thanks, Kevin. All right, I'm just going to run through my rig here. The signal path starts with, I've got sort of a floorboard wireless unit that I use. I don't use any rack effects, or I don't roll with a rack or anything like that. So what I do is I just go for a really simple but really easy to use wireless. First thing, I go into my wah pedal. It goes basically my rhythm tone that's, starts off, I go through the wah, but my rhythm tone is just a noise gate right into the 808. 808's on all the time. It's my go-to pedal. Like, I've seriously, every tour I've done, whether I'm, renting gear, whatever, 808's in front, no questions asked. So, and you can tell this thing's totally beat up, looks awesome. I got to get a new knob for it from Kevin at some point, though. But anyway, next up, I'm going to the AD999 Pro, which is, it's just like the regular analog delay. And I'm probably telling you guys already what you already know. But there's just a righteous, like, ping pong thing I can get from it. So when I'm doing, like, Alex Lyson, that's what I think of. Alex Lyson style, like, textural stuff. That's what I'm doing with this one. For now, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I'm doing with it, but. And then this brings us, the last thing in the chain is the Super Tube, which is totally new to me. And this is something Sammy from Goat Whore and we encountered a real problem in Europe with our rigs out there. We both, rented certain kinds of amps that never really came through for us. And then Sammy he mentioned that when he was recording, he got the most righteous tone from a JCM 800 with the Super Tube in the front. So we're like, okay, well, let's check that out. We plugged it in, and we were just like, okay, this is the tone. We're both using this rig for the whole tour, and we ended up doing that. And that led me to just inquire with Maxon and get a hold of Kevin and everything like that. So this sealed the deal. So now, and I mentioned this in an email early on, it's like I've always been to the 808, but I think, for me, there's a new sheriff in town with the Super Tube, especially when I'm traveling, because not only can you, get your basic, 808 style overdrive, if you're just stuck with some clean amp where you're like, great, I'm going to sound like Albert Lee, but I'm playing a metal show, this is also just a really awesome distortion pedal too. So, yeah, that's the pedal board right there, coming at you. So everything on the pedal board is running into this, and this is my go-to amp for recording and for playing live. I got this when I was in my early 20s and in the 90s. Shows my age a little bit, but I'm not going to say exactly what. But this is a 1974 JMP Mark IV Super Lead, it's called. Out of all those early Marshall players and stuff, Dwayne Allman was like the JMP guy. You know how Hendrix is the Plexi guy, Ritchie Blackmore, Malcolm Young, Marshall Major dudes. This is like the JMP. But this one in particular is total vintage amp collector nightmare because it's been modded so much. When I first got it, it had a couple fans in that, and I got rid of that. And I actually had it remodded by Craig Mueller, who's out of his company's Power Age Electronics out of Oakland. He's my go-to Marshall master. What we've got here is instead of 4 inputs, right now it's 2. So this right here, this one here is it's the original JMP circuit. So if you just want the original sounding amp, if you're going for like that AC/DC tone, if you're doing any kind of thing like that, that's what you do there. But the lead channel, as I call it, that's the extra. There's an extra preamp tube in there, and so you get tons of dirt And like this amp, just because it's a hand-wired amp from way back, all those amps sounded so different because, you know, it's so many different people wire these together. But this one just has so much beef and just girth and, you know, that kind of thing, that when you roll up the extra preamp section, it's also got a master volume put on it. So it just turns, it's now a monster, this thing, right? And I've A-B'd it with all kinds of other Marshalls. Older JCM 800, 50 watts and 100 watts come really close, but and obviously JMPs, that goes without saying, but my go-to rhythm tone, especially on Long Live Heavy Metal, the latest record, and actually the last 2 records before that, has been the 808 and this amp. Straight up, and I use EMG 81 for the metal stuff and in the bridge position. But another thing, going back quickly to the Super Tube, sometimes I need something that's not so crisp and, you know, with the tight rhythms and everything. Sometimes I flip to the neck pickup and I need something really wide and just really saturated. That's when I'll go from the 808 to the Super Tube, just for that kind of thing. But I can't really say anything more about that, this amp. I'll be really upset if something happened to it. That's what I gotta say. Cables I use are solid cables. That's the name of the company. They're just really the best cables I've ever used, because I've taken those things from like Japan to Mexico, all these crazy festival tours where mixing boards are running over them and everything, and those things haven't stopped working. So I got to give major props to solid cables.
So there you have it. Shane Clark from 3 Inches of Blood and Maxon. Check out their new album, Long Live Heavy Metal, or check out more info on Maxon at www.godlike.com. This is Kevin from Godlike signing off, telling you to go get some.